everyone, this is Brooke and you're listening to the Vintage Gardener podcast, which is now being hosted on Podbean. So if you guys remember back in March, I tried to do a live podcast, which I call the Garden Party, on stereo.com. And if you guys remember, that was an absolute disaster. Stereo.com had a contest start at the same time we started our podcast and the entire platform crashed. So we ended up having to go to Instagram Live, and I'll be quite honest, I'm not a fan of Instagram Live. There's some shortcomings to it, and so, which is why I wanted to do a live podcast. But you know what, we had to adapt, and so that's what we did. So I shopped around and I was really happy when I discovered that Podbean does free hosting for podcast. And the best part is they have a live component, and the live component actually does have a chat feature in it. And there's just a lot more bells and whistles. And I think it'll be a better fit from what I'm looking to do. So I've tested it. I've tested it by myself. I've had some of my followers help me out with it. So there's Christine, known as Good Kitty, who's one of my coworkers, Vicky Cronin, who's part of the Seeds with Friends group on Facebook, and she's also a follower of my page. My sister Lauren, who, you know, family. They always volunteer. Well, you kind of force them into it. So I guess they're conscripted, really. And then there is one of the podcasters on Podbean, whose name is C-Rock, who was actually kind enough to answer some questions about how the whole live process works and what the stats were and what everything was on it. So I think we've worked out all the kinks. And so I think we're ready to go. So the next live podcast will be Friday, May 21st at 8 p.m. I decided to do it a little bit later to give everybody time to get home, get some dinner, kind of square everybody in the family way, you know, so that you can sit down and tune in. So this time around, I thought I'd make the podcast a little bit more interactive. And although I do like question and answer sessions, I don't want to just do question and answer sessions. I thought it would be nice to have some fun interaction. So I thought that what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a question and I'm going to ask everybody to call in and tell me their answers. So here's the backstory on the question. So guys, as you all know, we live in an Instagram and Pinterest world. It seems that everyone and their moms is trying to be an influencer. So every image that we see on social media is carefully curated. So when you look at gardening YouTubers and that sort of thing, you know, their gardens are perfectly color blended. You know, when they work on projects, their areas are all very neat and very clean looking. You know, they say they have weeds, but I don't see no weeds. And there's like, you know, not a speck of dirt or mulch out of place. And then, you know, if you look at the gardeners and you know, these projects take hours, you know, they are wearing color coordinated outfits. They've got on eyeliner, you know, with makeup, you know, their hair is all slicked back and, or, you know, flat ironed. And, you know, yeah, maybe they do have some faux pas, but their faux pas are cute and charming, you know? And if their photos and even videos had a scratch and sniff feature on it, you know fully well that gardener would probably smell like rosewater and lilacs. And the truth is, it bears little, if any, resemblance to actual gardening. Now, I gotta be honest with you guys. My garden looks like a FEMA disaster area while I'm working. It just does. My front lawn looks a hot mess, waiting for spring. I've got black plastic, you know, I've got, you know, branches have come down over the winter. It's not appealing looking at all. You know, I don't have like a color blended, like I don't have a color balanced palette in my gardening. You know, my lighting is never the way I would like it because, you know, I work. So I'm taking pictures when I can. You know, I know sometimes my picture, it looks all lush and green. And I'm going to be honest with you. Some of that lush greenery is weeds that have gotten out of control. Okay. Now, when I garden, I don't even bother with makeup. I just don't, because it'd be running off because of sweat. And my skin color is usually a shade darker on the videos. And the reason that is, it's because I'm usually wearing a fine layer of dirt on my face. And of course, once I wash it off, then, my tan goes away, so to speak. And in terms of how I smell, well, you know what? I work up a sweat. So if I were you visiting my garden, I would definitely make sure that I'm standing upwind of me, because if not, you're going to be knocked off your feet with the funk coming from my person. So, guys, at the end of the day, the perfection that we're constantly subjected to on social media can be very discouraging. If you're an experienced gardener, it can be discouraging because it's like, oh, my garden doesn't look like that. And particularly if you're a new gardener, because when you're starting out, you don't know everything that there is to know. A lot goes wrong. You're acquiring a new skill set. And so mistakes happen. You kill plants and, your best plans go awry. So on the Call-In Show, we're going to be celebrating the realities of gardening. And what I'm talking about disasters. So what I'd like everyone to do is to call in and share some of your gardening catastrophes. So basically, did your greenhouse blow over? Did your tray of plants fry in the heat because something happened, you forgot to water them? Did you inadvertently, grab the weed killer spray instead of the BT and, killed all your vegetables? My listeners and I, we want to hear it. We can laugh, we can cry, we can commiserate together, because at the end of the day, people, no matter what goes wrong, your garden will recover and so will you. So that's the Call-In Show, guys. I want you guys to tell me about your gardening disasters. So guys, the best part about Podbean is that you don't have to create an account. If you have a Facebook profile, you can log in using Facebook, because I really hate having to have people create a new social media account. So you can log in with Facebook. When you're on the podcast, there's a button for you to call in. And then there's also a chat feature, so you can talk to other people, you can respond. If somebody's telling me a story and you guys have comments or questions, I'll try to look down to grab some of the questions out of the comments and ask the person who's on the call. And so it should be a lot of fun. This has the ability I can host more than one person. So for example, if I wanted to do a roundtable discussion, I can have 3 or 4 people on. So anyway, I think it'll be a lot of fun. So guys, mark your calendars, May 21st at 8 p.m. and just be thinking about the garden disaster that you'd like to tell me about. So I will see you guys then. And thank you so much for listening.